from Daniel Driver YouTube channel. We do scuba diving, equipment, locations, reviews, that sort of thing. Today we're going to do a review of a piece of equipment I just bought. I decided to upgrade and replace my existing computer, which was the lower end Sunto Zoop, which I put about 150 dives on or so. And it just got, my eyes had gotten to the limit, not the computer, so I had trouble seeing the screen on the computer, and so I decided to upgrade that computer. And I decided to upgrade that computer to a Shearwater Peregrine, which just came out a few weeks ago. Actually about a month ago, I guess, almost to the day now. And it's a Canadian company out of Vancouver, I think Richmond, and it's part of the reason why I bought it. I'm Canadian. And so I decided to support that company, but I've also heard from my friends back east that they're a real solid support, and the computers are very intuitive and easy to operate. So, you know, Zoop's great computer, but especially value for the money. But in terms of, you know, figuring out what button to hit next and to get, you know, change nitrile, it's a bit of a challenge, we'll say. And so I needed a computer with a lot of contrast because my eyes aren't very good. And I asked about it, looking into just the Shearwater brand in particular recently, and my local dive shop, Sundown Diving, had their Shearwater dealer, amazingly enough, and they had this new model in there, and it just blew me away. I always thought Shearwater only dealt in tech computers, which they did, you know, for closed circuit systems and you know, rebreathers and that sort of thing, and to the tech crowd. So I never thought that they would be, you know, good for the rec crowd like me. I'm not a tech diver. I just do recreational diving and that sort of thing. But I saw my buddies down in Belize in February, and they all had these. I'm not sure exactly which one they had, but they were impressive looking computers, and I could see their display, you know, diving 10 meters away from them. I could read their display, and I was just, holy smokes, these guys have a lot of money. And before, those computers were start at about $1,100 Canadian, and a little bit outside of my price range, and they go up to $2,000 or whatever. But local Sundown Diving pointed out this new one had come out, and it was only $615 Canadian or $450 US, and which just blew me away because it had the identical display as the high-tech ones that I saw down in Belize on my friends that I had met. And so I really, you know, my eyes really took kindly to that high contrast, and it's all LED and that sort of thing. So boy, I was in a hurry at half the price of what I was expecting. So I decided to go ahead and purchase that computer. The first thing that I know I mentioned price, but also the graphic user interface, and we'll just go down this list here. So these are the pluses and the minuses that I see in it. This is just my review. There's probably a billion reviews on these, and I did research it a little bit, and there was a few reviews of it. I'm going to take this thing underwater for you so you can see what happens when you get under the waves, because nobody's done that yet, and you don't see it very often. People actually using the equipment underwater and stuff, like they talk about it in a, you know, very sterile environment. I just dove this morning, and I took it for its very first dive. So, and it was a good dive because I blew out all the alarms on it right away because I went a little bit beyond my limits, but it turned out to be a great test because to show you that, you know, if you were to exceed MOD, maximum operating depth, and that sort of thing, the alarm goes off. And the alarm on this one is vibration alarm. So sometimes underwater you get these high-pitched sounds, and you kind of, after 400, 500, 600 dives, you kind of tune that out. So you don't really hear your dive computer. And my Sunto computer, my Zoop, beeps at me all the time. I never know what it's telling me. And it just beeps a lot, so I ignore it. This thing vibrates, so this thing really got my attention. Maybe 500 or 600 dives more on this computer, I'll start ignoring the vibration, but this was much more kinetic sort of a thing for me than just sound. It you know, vibrates your wrist, so it really got my attention. So anyway, let's look at the graphic interface first. So this is the unit here, and I don't know if this is a good enough. You can see this good enough, but this is the Peregrine, right? Shearwater Peregrine right here. Very attractive looking computer. It's not a puck style, obviously. It's this kind of box style, and I decided to put on the this parachute cord stuff on here because it's just easier for me to go from dry suit. I'm in cold water, so I have to put this over a dry suit, and I also like to put it over a wet suit when I'm in the tropics as well. So this gives me some stretch. And some of you'll notice that I use two pieces instead of putting one all around. And I do that because if something ever happens to one of these, I don't lose the computer. I lose one of the straps, and that's all I lose. So that's the reason why I do that. Now to turn this on, I can't believe how quickly I learned how to use this thing. It's so easy to use. So you press both buttons, and I didn't even read the manual. I didn't have to. It was so easy to use. So you press both buttons, and it immediately starts to, it vibrates a little bit, and it turns on immediately. So it's got a good processor in there, and you can see the display is just great. It right now I've got it set up for nitrox 34%. Maximum operating depth at that level of nitrox is 104 feet. 21 degrees in my office right now, and it's 1:49 p.m. in the afternoon. And it's been 3 hours and 30 minutes since my last dive. So you're getting pretty fresh dive information about this computer right now. 0 feet, we haven't done anything, no decompression limit. This was maxed right out earlier. So, one of the things for me with these is, what buttons do I have to press to get the dive computer working for a particular dive? Well, I'm a mixed gas nitrox diver, so the only thing I ever change is, the nitrox level. So that's got to be easy for me to do, right? And I didn't really look. I bought the computer before I realized how easy it was to change it. On my Zoom, I had to press probably about 6 or 7 buttons at least to change the nitrox, and then it reset all the time back to air. So it never remembered what my last one was. And if you always use 32% or you always use 34% or something like that, you're setting it every time. If I always use 34 or 32, in this case I've got 34 in here, I would never have to change this again. Hit the water and it's done. So isn't that nice? You don't have to do anything. So it's just, because a lot of times, I forget to do whatever, play with the computer or whatever, and I got to get to the nitrox later. Well, that doesn't give you good information when you're underwater. You want to put the nitrox in here so it can tell you what's going on with your saturation and tissue levels. So this does that, and it makes it so easy, and it remembers to put, your last measurement in there. So say I wanted to change this to 32%. So all I need to do is I go to the menu on the side. This is the menu button over here, and then there's a second button only for the to change, to edit. So I press this, and I get turn off or define gas. So I just go to define gas, select that. Right now it's at 34. I need to change it to 32. So I go over to 4, and then I just change this to 32, save. Now I'm done. Now I can go to 112 feet. So it's wonderful how quick I did that. And then, of course, you get a whole bunch of other displays if you just press this right button when you're underwater. Maximum depth that you dive on the last dive and all that sort of thing. And lots of the PPO2 information, max operating depth, conservatism on your algorithm, and temperature underwater, that sort of, right now, and a whole bunch of other information that you would, mostly text stuff that I wouldn't use. Tissue saturation levels in a graphical format, so you get more of a picture. And you'll also get a picture of this graph in your no decompression limit as well. It'll give you a number, but it also gives you a graph of your tissue saturation. And it'll give you this graph in a little tiny version of it. So it's just wonderful. What your battery. The battery on this unit is lithium, and it's internal. So there's no interface on this thing whatsoever. This is a completely sealed unit. And so the way it charges is with this little, the way it charges is with this little pad. So you just have to put the pad on top like this, and it starts charging, just like cell phones do. So there's wireless, everything's wireless. There's no ports to corrode or let water in and destroy your computer. There's no batteries to put in here or anything. You just need to charge it by dropping it on there and it starts charging. It's wonderful. Furthermore, you don't have to buy no $100 US cable every 2 years. Every time a version changes or something like that, or Windows changes, and then you have to buy a new $100 cable for it. This has got Bluetooth. So this will connect to your phone and goes right up to the cloud. So it's really quick and easy. And so I love the fact that it's sealed, it's safe, it's going to last. You don't need to worry about stuff getting into the computer and wrecking it. Water, obviously, salt water. So this is just starting ticking the boxes like crazy, this thing. Obviously, you saw how easy it was to change stuff. So we saw a little bit of the graphical user interface already. I guess I could show you a little bit more of the menus. And the menus are wonderful. So you just click this left button. And if you want to turn it off, you just click the right button and turn off. Define the gas, we just did that. Dive setup, you can go into dive setup and look at the planner and start planning dives. And you know, if you know what you're going to do that day for 4 dives, you can start planning your dive out so you know when you need to exit or what percentage of nitrox you need for each dive and all that kind of stuff. So you can go ahead and plan everything and calculate all your dives. So here I've got a bunch of planned dives right now, so but I don't need to go ahead and do this dive planner. Go to the next. So you can set the brightness to automatic. I just have it on automatic right now, but you can set it in high and low and all that kind of stuff. Vibration on, which is really handy. I can test vibration and back to dive setup. So we just go through, and then you can go through to the dive log. And my dive from today is in here. So there's my dive from today. And I can it just gives you a nice log there that you can see with the information. But look at this. This is ridiculous. This is just, I don't know if you can see this through the, but holy smokes, like it just gives you a graph and every bit of information about, you know, the dive you just did is wonderful. So I went down 120 feet and it was only a 40-minute dive and that sort of thing. And then it gives you your temperature profile on top of that. So you got your dive profile, temperature profile. Really nice. So information about your dive, about your saturation points before and after the dives. You can go back to the exit. You can delete this if you want, or just exit. So we'll just exit. Oops. Edit log, exit. And we'll go, whoops, we'll have to go on to the next here. There. Okay, I'll go back here. So this is, I can start Bluetooth here, so I can go in and it'll basically just search for the Bluetooth for my phone. It'll find the phone, select Peregrine on my phone using the Shearwater Cloud app, which I'll show you in the video. And yeah, and then you can just sync it with the internet, sync it with your computer, then sync with the internet, and you're good to go and everything's safe. Yeah, and you can just go through everything you want here, dive setup, system setup. So there's all kinds of things. You can change the colors of the screen and all kinds of things. Right now I've got it on nitrox mode, 1.4 level, and MOD currently at 112. And we can go to the next one. So it shows the Bowman GFZHL, which is that's the algorithm that it uses. And it's set to conservative right now, but I can make that low or high. Last stop, and then the safety stop. It adapts, which is wonderful because it actually, this morning, it actually kicked in at 20 feet and started counting down. It gave me an extra large 5-minute one because I went down below MOD. Next. And so back to the start. So how easy could that be? It's just wonderful. Especially, and the contrast is good for my eyes because I just can't see the contrast. And if you look at this is my old computer. This is my my Suntoe Zoop. And if I turn this one on, you can look at just the contrast difference. Like, look at the contrast difference between these two. Unbelievable contrast. Big difference. So, I guess the next thing is price point. $615 Canadian. And the lowest price one before that for Shearwater was $11.50 or something. Wonderful. So, you know, that's a great setup. I'll just turn it off, excuse me. Or $450 US, just as a comparison. So that's totally affordable, great price point. Rec dive computer. It even creeps into tech a little bit. You can track, trigas, trimix, and that sort of thing. However, this is kind of the area where I'm talking out of the top of my head a little bit. I know it can track those three. It has the capability of doing that, but you wouldn't want to use this with a closed circuit system and that. You probably want to use it with the Perdix or something like that, minimum, that allows you to do all those things and have the air integration, that sort of thing. This one doesn't have air integration. So price point is wonderful. We talked a little bit about the wireless part of this thing. So, you know, connecting a wire to anything is a real pain these days, and then more and more it's just becoming, you know, nobody wants wires for anything anymore. So the fact that this thing doesn't have any inner ports that can flood, wires that are going to cost you hundreds of dollars extra on top of your investment is wonderful. And it uses standard Bluetooth and standard charging mechanisms, which you don't have to use the one they gave you. You can go and use an aftermarket one off Amazon, and it'll charge this thing too. So it's just a standard charging platform that you put it on anybody's, their iPhone charging pad, it'll work too. So excellent stuff there. Ease of use. Well, you just saw it, me rolling through the menus, how easy it is to go and change stuff. Especially for me, complicated as I get, I'll go in there. I want my maximum operating depth on there because I've got nitrox, so that's what's important to me. So I set that up and I make the change with the nitrox every so often. And even better than that, there's no better ease of use than not having to do anything. I like having to do nothing but focus on the diving or my photography. So what I mean by nothing is that I can set my nitrox, set it and forget it, and if I always get that percentage, I never have to change my dive computer. It's sealed. We've touched on a lot of these already. It's a sealed unit. We don't have to worry about changing the battery, replacing the O-ring, praying and doing this and then doing this and all this kind of stuff to make sure your computer doesn't flood after you do it, because you're sure it floods. This thing's sealed. There's no praying. Solid support and company. When I was in Belize, I ran into the group back east. That's all I heard was good things about this company, Shearwater. I knew nothing about them before. And everybody had that computer. You could read the computer from 30 feet away. Wonderful. So easy to read and all the rest of it. I thought it was $1 million. I could never afford it. Guess what? Price point's awesome now for rec divers. No excuse not to have this computer now. Like, this is the computer. And I went to a lot of different sites to review. I went on Simply Scuba and some other ones. They all have the same computer. They all have the Perdix computer and stuff. But I bet you soon there's going to be a lot of people with this on the wrist because of the price. Less than half price. Or about half price, I should say. So, and apparently these guys are solid support. Like, something's wrong with that computer, they turn it over, they change it, they fix it, whatever. And they do it quickly and they respond. So that's what I've been hearing. I haven't had to test that yet. I just got it like a week ago, so I don't know yet. Solid company though, and they're Canadian company. Canadian buyers out there. So also, I guess the negatives here is the fact there's no air integration with this, so that'd be a little bummer for some people who want to have the algorithm calculating your dive, which is, fair enough. People are into tech, they want it to take their heartbeat and all this kind of stuff, and their breaths, how many breaths are they taking, that's all big stuff, respiration rate and things like that. Those are all excellent things that can go into algorithms. I'm just a rec diver and recreational diver, so I don't need any of that. And there's limited tech. I have no closed circuit support that I know of from this computer. I think other than the fact you can put a helium number in there, I don't really know. There's some tank information, but I think that's just software related stuff that if you wanted to hammer it in, I'd never use it. So just one more thing, this is the case. So they send you a really fancy Shearwater case that will probably just collect dust in the back of my unit. So they have a little sticker on the front, and they give you an ID card that it was tested. It's actually a nice little case to go traveling with, I suppose. And this little guard on here, and some more parachute cord. They even send you a little tool kit for putting on the wristband, and yes, there's a wristband here. So they give you a wristband if you like wristbands. I don't like wristbands. So yeah, they give you a lot of stuff for your investment here. I'm not going to try to pack this together because, of course, nobody can pack it together as good as they send it to you. So yeah, this is my new buddy. My new buddy for safety equipment. And biggest safety equipment device is your brain, and your brain needs to know what's going on around you, and this helps me do that, and especially when I can see it. So the accessibility part of this, me being able to see this at an angle, in the dark, it doesn't matter. The contrast is excellent for somebody like me. He's getting a little bit older and that sort of thing. So I can't recommend this enough. This is a wonderful computer. I've had one dive on this computer, so maybe my thoughts will change in a month or two, but I doubt it. This thing is solid. My divers that were this morning, they're all very impressed with this as well. In fact, especially the price was wonderful. So thanks for watching, and leave comments in the below if I made a mistake with something, or maybe it does support CC. I don't know, closed circuit. I don't know. It's very limited if it does. Or any comments you have about this, or any questions you have, and I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you.